So I first started freediving 20 years ago. It's 40 years if you count the time I was living on a sailboat with my family and snorkeling every day. But 20 years since I was like, freediving is a sport, I have to try that. And when I first tried it in 2003, I was going out with the scuba boats in Utila in Honduras, back when there wasn't even a freediving school in the whole of the Caribbean. And I was taking the morning and the afternoon boats and spending 5-6 hours in the water every day. And that was it for me. Of course I was diving down the walls and going for maximum depth, holding one of those old analog gauges in my hand. But what I spent most of the time doing, and what made me fall in love with the sport more than anything else, were the dives to shallow depth, to 10, 12 meters, where there was like a soft, sandy seabed amongst the coral. And I'd just swim down there and rest on my forearms, lying on the bottom, close my eyes, and for a minute or two, I would have no urge to breathe, no need to return to the surface. Everything would stop, and I would experience that kind of raw state of pure consciousness, which in the end is all that we really are. And it revealed so much. And later that year, when I met Umberto Pellizzari, who was a mentor for me in those early years, he taught me more about that side of freediving, which he had inherited from Jacques Mayol. He told me that the scuba diver dives to look around, while the freediver dives to look inside themselves. And when people ask me, how can I maintain my motivation in a career of more than 2 decades? I try to explain this side of freediving, how it's so rewarding, so nourishing and enlightening that I couldn't imagine ever walking away from it or disrespecting it. And I know I won't be able to always set records or keep winning medals, but I think there'll always be a place in the sea where I can kind of take that breath and slip back into that state. And in the first 10 years of my career as a freediver, pretty much everyone I met shared that same passion and that same approach. And that's why it's called a freediving tribe, because we're united by the same values and philosophy. And no one from this tribe would show any interest in the idea of a cheap shortcut, a drug, a substance that can boost your blood levels or that can help you to bypass the delicate mental control that you need for depth. It'd be kind of like Edmund Hillary parachuting down onto the summit of Mount Everest, He was a climber and he wanted to be the first to climb to the summit. We were freedivers and we wanted to see what was possible underwater, just the human body, no tricks, no gimmicks. And they say all good things must come to an end. And now it seems that a new group has arrived with different motivations. One that's maybe looking for a new thrill after tiring from other sports. One that dives for the glory and the Instagram followers and shows up at events with bagfuls of pharmaceuticals. And here's the thing, the sea is going to open its arms to all who come to it. The sea doesn't distinguish. Anyone can freedive. But what happens to us and to our sport when those who dive not to discover the whole of themselves, but to fill the hole in their egos, who dive with bravado and zero scruples? What happens when they become the biggest names in the sport with the biggest numbers under their weight belt? And what happens is that freediving will no longer be pure. And whether or not that's known, it will be felt. And this is why Vertical Blue has campaigned against drug use and doping this year, to protect the purity of our beautiful sport. And even calling it a sport is kind of an injustice, right? Because it's so much more. That dive to 10, 12 meters, everything it reveals, the almost transcendental deeper hangs at depth, The dives with aquatic mammals where you feel like you're being accepted into their tribe. The training sessions with friends and community that forms naturally around the sport. All of that is at stake here. And something I've been hearing a lot is, it's so sad that the freediving community is at war with itself over doping. And that is not what this is. And this is a really important concept. It isn't a war within the community or even some kind of divide. This is the freediving community defending itself from imposters. Imposters who are stealing opportunities, stealing medals and records from the community. And if someone is stealing from a community, they are not part of that community. If someone takes your place on the podium or the ranking because they used a banned substance, they are not your friend, no matter how friendly they are. They have stolen something very valuable from you. Even if someone's performance inspires you, but it turns out it was achieved through cheating, they didn't inspire you, they deceived you. And likewise, if you give up on a dream like a national record because it just seems out of reach, then if that existing record is actually bogus, you have been deceived at great cost, because our dreams are one of the most valuable things we have. And the deceiver who took them away from you cannot be a friend, cannot be a part of a community within the sport. And again, this is the community defending itself from a small group of people masquerading as freedivers, masquerading as friends and as athletes. It's easier to break things than it is to fix them, and the same is true here. Being involved in this myself, it's not like it's a role that I wanted or enjoy at all, or that I get anything out of myself. I don't want the job. I don't want to be the poster boy of anti-doping. But almost no one else is speaking up about it. And if Vertical Blue just had followed the status quo, we would have most likely had national records, world records, medal dives, all of them bogus. And I've heard a lot from that small group, that I'm only trying to defend, protect my own record. It's kind of funny because, yes, of course I'm trying to protect it from being broken, but being broken by a fake athlete. The day will come when someone dives deeper without fins. Whether that's myself, someone else, whether it's tomorrow or in 10 years, I don't care. All I care about is that it is someone worthy who hasn't cut any corners and hasn't taken any magic pills. So break it, be my guest, but break it in the same way that it was set. And then we can remain a community, one happy tribe of freedivers, all together on the same level playing field. Thank you for watching this, and if you agree with what I'm saying, then please do share it so that we can get this message out.